What changed in NetDocs in 2025? This webinar is, should I use the word mess? Um, there's just a lot that's changed, and it used to be a lot easier to do this webinar because I would just go to the web refreshes, maybe look at ND Office, and we're done. And now there's so many different things. We're going to go over all of them, and I'll try to explain all of them to the best of my ability. We do this webinar every year sometime in December. All right, so before we get started, well, NetDocs updates I'm not going over because that's the whole webinar is NetDocs updates. Optimal updates, we're going to actually go back to the webinar itself. Blog post, I've had a couple of people come to me with issues with not being able to use ND attach correctly in Outlook. So creating a brand new email, and then they can't change the options from link, copy, deliver a secured link. It is a scaling issue. So we wrote a blog post on, doing that. This is what I'm talking about, and then how to fix it. It's a registry key. This one right here, I've had some clients using a product called Court Drive, and basically the big issue there is in Court Drive, it will email items to NetDocs. And I don't know if everyone knows about this, so it's a good idea just to explain it. Every single thing in NetDocs has a unique email address. Okay. And what do I mean by thing? Every workspace, every folder, every collab space, every filter has a unique email address. If you go to the drop-down arrow, there's a view email address. There's actually two email addresses. So the first one, if you use that, let's say you take an email and you put 5 attachments on that email and you email it to that address, the email and the 5 attachments will be added to that folder, to that filter, to that workspace, to that collab space. There is a second email address, the one at the bottom. If you take an email and email it to that folder or filter, it will take all the attachments, but it will not save the email. So I've had a lot of people using stuff like Court Drive get frustrated because when they open up that folder, there's like 20 emails and 30 attachments. So like, I don't want the email, I just want the attachments. The answer there is to use that second address. And then, this explains how this kind of goes in there, how external users can email documents. Again, we have those 2 addresses here, so you could use either of those. So that's it on the blog post. I got one coming on collab spaces coming up, and I got a couple other ones based off of tickets we've gotten. Event-wise, I was smart. We're doing our webinar 2025. We have an office hours December 17th. I'm debating on keeping that just because it's right. I mean, I'm fine doing it. Are people going to be let's just check that. No, people will still be in the office. We'll keep that. All right. And then we're starting January 7th. Set Builder, I'll kick all these off, all the NetDocs ancillary products. So I'll start with Set Builder, January, February, data loss prevention. And then I'm just going to go down the list. Collab spaces, tasks, chat link. Just go down all the NetDocs. DLP, we got there. WSM, just all those products. We'll do one a month. We'll do 1 office hours a month. That gets 2, so that's 24. And then I'll do here's some extra NetDocs products that I think are useful. Those are always a little bit salesy. I mean, in a sense, because it's something you'd have to buy. And then we'll add some other ones in there as well, stuff about AI and things like that. So we are building that out. So that's what's up with us. But what the real point of this webinar is the NetDocs updates. So you're going to see where I can find these updates as we go through, I thought it would be important to talk about the AWS migration, which is happening in the background. The other thing about this webinar, to be really clear, this is stuff that is actually changed and shipped. Okay, this isn't stuff that's coming in the future. That's not the purpose of this webinar, and we'll run out of time on it anyway. But this is stuff that is actually here for us to use right now. I don't know if anyone is aware of this. I mean, some of you are aware of this, you've been emails, but NetDocs has been migrating to AWS, Amazon Web Services, to host your documents. All your documents are in AWS right now, okay? So that migration has happened. And then next year, I think we're going to get search and everything else, basically all the other stuff will move over to AWS. Right now, it's just the documents. They've migrated, well, in the US data center, 14 billion documents. And then you have the Canadian, Australian, German, of all the other data centers, they've migrated those as well. So let's just say 20 billion documents have been migrated over to AWS. It all happens in the background. And then they're going to move search and everything else. So we should see some performances from that. All right, but let's go to actual stuff that's happened. Now, the first page we're going to look at is web refreshes. Okay, what does this mean? This is the NetDocs web browser. All right, and this is 2025. So when we click on it, it will jump into the page. These are the 2025 web refreshes. Okay, now you don't have a choice on this. Some of the other stuff you have a choice. This just shows up. Let's come down to the very bottom and we'll work our way up the list here. So, and this was when we did the webinar last year, we did the 2024. So and some of these are bug fixes, and I'm not going to really concentrate a lot on those. All right, the first one here, which was January 31st, 2025, there is a new cabinet setting for collab spaces external sharing. Actually, we can just go to it. And I'll show you where the setting is. All right. Allow sharing with external users outside of the collab space. So here's the issue. I've had attorneys come up to me and be like, look, we've got co-counsel on this matter. We want to share the entire matter with them. It's frustrating because, yeah, we can add stuff to collab spaces, but we have to add everything to the collab space. And as the matter is ongoing, we don't want to have to keep adding every single document to the collab space. So NetDocs has a concept of internal users and external users. If you check this item off, you have the ability to just share an entire matter with an external user. Now, the problem with doing it, and let's see if it actually flags us for this when we do this right now. It doesn't do anything. All right. So if you check this off, then the collab spaces really stop working, which I think actually makes a ton of sense. So realistically, this is great where you have your client cabinet, and then maybe you have a folder-based cabinet you want to share with an external user. If you decide to do this in the client cabinet, then really you're not going to use collab spaces the way they are. You're just going to be able to share an entire matter or share an entire folder. I mean, there's the issues that I find with doing this, and this is all trade-offs, and I don't want to go too much down the rabbit hole because not a lot of people are using this. But if I go to our client cabinet right now in the profile attributes, most likely you're hiding all the external tables from external users. You have to uncheck this if you want someone just to be able to see everything. You got to basically open it up, which is why usually people for that option create a brand new cabinet for it. Okay, because they're still going to use collab spaces in this cabinet, and then they're going to create another cabinet where it's going to be more wide opened, and then they can get around it so far. Not a great example of this. I'll create a blog post. I mean, it's on the list to kind of explain it more. But I'm just trying to explain why most people don't use it. But it's very useful. Like some people have like a data room or something like that cabinet, and now you can share that whole thing without using collab spaces to someone. All right, you're noticing here issues addressed. These are bug fixes. We're not really going to cover those. We're going to cover new features. Okay. So this goes by default, this setting is disabled. If enabled, it doesn't revoke any access. It just prevents users from giving access going forward. That explains that. All right. What the collab space modify access. Well, NetDocs past year changed the way modify access looked, and now the collab space users have it as well. All right, this was the big one here. So 50 gigabyte upload. All right. You can now upload 50 gigabyte files. I mean, not by default. So in NetDocs, in information and settings, and we don't even have it turned on, allow larger files bigger than 2 gigabytes. If you check that off, then 50 gigabytes is the limit for uploading files. For you NetDocs users, if you have a 30 gigabyte file you're uploading, I would be using the ND Office right here to upload it. I would not use add upload on 50 gigabytes. And I think if you've ever tried to upload that, no matter what service you're using, those it can basically choke. Much better to use a program like this. So that was released, and I think we always have to be careful because a lot of you come to me and complain about NetDocs storage. I get it. So if you turn this feature on, you just need to be very careful about monitoring your NetDocs storage, because right now 2 gigabytes is the limit. This will allow larger than 2 gigabytes. That was March 14th. I mean, it's interesting because when I started with NetDocs 15 years ago, the limit was 1 gigabyte. Then 10 years ago, they made it, they moved it up to 2. And then really it's with the move to AWS, so that's what I've been told, they were able to upload it to 50 gigabytes. One file can be 50 gigabytes. All right. That one, let's see here. Let's see here. New log entries for home pages. Added logging when admins update a user's home page. Okay, so that goes into the log now. So we know when someone's there. I don't know how important that is. All right, these updates here, and again, you're seeing when these are released. A lot of the issues addressed here. Made backend updates to support upload for 50 gigabytes. All right, nothing new here. Ooh. New filter persistence setting. A new option has been added to user settings. Filter persistence and controls whether filters stay applied when switching between workspace and views. If enabled, the last option. All right, I think I understand this now. By the way, this webinar is definitely not for me just to do my homework to figure out what changed in NetDocs. I've obviously researched this before. All right, so if we go in to a filter, we're set to all. We also have documents. We also have email. And then we have refined search, which is basically like doing a search here in the matter. What this setting is, and let's go look at it here, is it's under application settings. All right. So hi, your name, settings, application settings. Remember my filter selections when switching between workspaces and views. Okay, so if I let's do this. Remember, now I probably have to log out and log back in. That's usually just the way this works. But if I leave this on Documents, and then I go into, yeah, it's stuck on Documents. And then I could switch it to email, or I could switch it. Let's see if we leave it on refined search. Does it just stay on refined search? That's what I would do. That's where it's useful, because refined search is super useful. I would put it on refined search. And if I turn that setting on and just keep it there, because I find that gives me a little more granular detail here on all the stuff. So if you want it to remember your filter, like if you're in list view and you go to another matter, you're in list view. This is kind of the same thing. If you're in refined search or documents or emails, it will remember that last one and keep it there. That is pretty useful. When it came out, I didn't really get what it was doing. This was in August, but now that is actually pretty useful. I mean, rename, download all. That's not a new feature. New export feature added. Documents to an approved folder designated by we'll talk about this. The export feature. That I'll talk about in a second. Let's wait till we finish there, because that's probably talk about our own. Clear DocuSign status. Love this feature. All right, if some of you have dealt with this for me. So if I have the DocuSign integration turned on, I can send this Word document to DocuSign. When a person signs the document, it then goes back into my NetDocs account automatically. Like there's no extra step. If you sign a contract with our company, that's what we used. Here's the problem. I send the DocuSign to someone and then they're like, hey, I'm not the signer. They're like, you actually need to make it this partner. And before, like there was no way to clear the status. I basically would have to like take the proposal, do a save as, delete the envelope and DocuSign. It was a pain in the neck. So if I send something to DocuSign now, and then I have to make a change, I can go over to clear status and it will clear it out, and then I can resend it again. So we found that fairly useful. All right, the other thing here, they've changed the login screen to make this more apparent. If I have set up your NetDocs in the past couple years, I'm trying to get everyone to log on via Microsoft 365 account using something called single sign-on. And I'm going with the majority of the users are going that way. They changed the button here. First, you'd have to click on Need Login Assistance, and then you would have to click Use My Organization's Login. Now you just click Continue with SSO. And that's been moved throughout the entire program. So it makes just a little bit more sense. We got to do a little education on what SSO is. All right, there's the updated. Now this just was released. We've updated to .NET 8. I mean, that's there. New restrict user cabinet settings and new restrict external users listing. It shows if the external users are visible when you modify the collab space. All right, this so you don't see what users are there. Okay, only the admins see there. Search for external users. Yeah, I don't know if that's really the great. All right, that was the web refreshes. All right, now I'm not a lot of stuff there. I mean, a good amount, but if we go granular, because this was just on the web page, let's look at everything else, because I went through and added it for everything. So the next thing I want to look at is ND Office. This is for Windows users. So ND Office usually has 2 updates a year. In February and around May or June. And honestly, I recommend you install it around March and around June or July. And the reason being is ND Office comes out, a new one this year, 4.1. I'm going to wait for 4.11 to come out, which is the bug fix. And they all have them, and they're usually minor things, but I don't really want to have to go in and if I have a 30 user firm, I roll out 4.1, well, then I got to roll out 4.11. When that comes out, I just wait. Do you do you have to update? I mean, I would schedule and talk to your IT company about getting these updated every once in a while. I mean, I would, so if you just have to update them twice a year, I don't think it's that bad. Maybe you do it once a year. So you know it's going to happen in May or June. Maybe every August you update ND Office. You'll be getting the latest version. We're going to go over what was released. And then there's also ND Mail. ND Office is a program installed on your computer. ND Mail is a program installed on your computer, Windows computer, for the most part. Um, they'll eventually go away. So you will see next year they're going to release the ability to save directly to NetDocs without ND Office installed. It'd be freaking awesome for collab spaces. All right. Because you have an external user like one of your clients. Well, NetDocs will just be an option in Word for everyone. But let's go over 4.1 release notes. And then, well, no, I want to actually open this up. All right. 4.1, doc import advanced mode and an increase doc import limit. So 4.1. All right. So there isn't, if you're using the folder import tool, and that's this option right here, there is advanced mode. What does advanced mode do? It lets you run an import and then run another import and then run another import. So you could be running like 5 imports on your computer. They also changed this from, I think it was 10,000 items to 30,000. See, this person's running 3 imports at once. All right, encrypted emails and their decrypted form. Oh, that's nice. If you ever got an encrypted email. Oh, I was correct on this. You can increase this from 10, it automatically increase from 10,000 to 30,000 items. That's a lot. There's a registry key that allows empty folders to be uploaded. That was always annoying when it first came out. In our registry key pack, it's included. So if there's a whole bunch of empty folders, they just get uploaded into NetDocs. ND save open force compliance. So there is the ability to force any save. We haven't rolled this out yet. I mean, we used to even ask the question, but after years, no one did it. You can basically, when someone hits save in the Word, NetDocs comes up, and there's no way around it. Okay. The only way around it is if you're on an airplane with no Wi-Fi, it will revert back to the regular save. So there are the ability to now force. You basically have a closed system in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Visio, not Outlook. It would never be Outlook because you don't want to have to force to save every email or something like that. Open and save will automatically go to NetDocs. Registry key for importing documents to close matters. This was always good because a lot of people wouldn't close matters because sometimes they would get something and they would want to be able to save it, but they couldn't because it was closed. So you have to open it up. So now you can save items to close matters. Those are the big things in 4.1. A lot of good stuff there. Okay. Now coming back here, what was 4.2? That allowed 50 gigabytes here. Again, that's what we're coming over to ND Office. We could come over and we could drag a 50 gigabyte file and it would work now. And then they improve the upload performance. So to make it really, really quick. Also, again, you can see here all the bug issues. So those are all the differences, all the changes in ND Office. All right, ND Mail. Now, historically, there were 2 releases of ND Mail every year. This year, we only got 1. I'll explain why in the next slide. So this was done in May. So realistically, this is where if you had your IT every August update ND Office and ND Mail, then you would hit the latest version of ND Mail and the latest version of ND Office. Those ND Mail and Office come out together for a reason. It's to make it easy when you go to update these. ND Mail 1.16. All right. Asynchronous folder mapping. Okay. This allows folder mapping to run in the background. Okay. What was the reason behind this? So folder mapping, if I right click on any folder, map folder to ND, would map the folder to NetDocs. When anyone ever comes to me and complains, hey, my Outlook is running slow, the first thing I'm doing is we'll just have your IT remove folder mapping if you're not using it because it will speed it up. This update to ND Mail should increase its issues where it causes Outlook to freeze upon loading. And so this is folder mapping loads here. So we put this registry key in our registry pack. I'll show you where this is at the end of it because we're updating these all the time. But that basically was the big release for ND Mail 1.16. Okay, that looks kind of bad until we come over to this, which this is a pain in the neck to put together. So the M365 Outlook. Okay, what is that? And there's two ways I can show it to you, but here it's this right here. And I have, for some reason, it's this NetDocs. It's a NetDocs for Outlook. Is there a way to pin this? It's not pinned here. You can also see this. So if you're using this here, this is the same thing here. This is NetDocs for Outlook. Where do you use this? If you're on a Mac, if you're in Outlook Web Access, you're on an iPhone, you're on an Android device. You don't install this on your computer, okay? So this over here, and I know this is confusing. I have an article, why are there two ND Mails? This is ND Mail, which has been installed on my computer. This right here is not installed on your computer. It is centrally deployed via Office 365. Why are we going this route? I mean, I think we're going this route on everything. We're not really installing software on our computers anymore. I mean, I would be shocked in maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe ND Office is not even being installed on a computer anymore. But the new version of Outlook, so I am running what is called Outlook Classic. The new version of Outlook does not allow COM add-ins. Now, Microsoft goes back and forth on when we're going to force us to have it. I just got a brand new computer last week, and I installed Outlook Classic. So I can still run Outlook Classic. When we can no longer install Outlook Classic, we're not going to be able to install ND Mail on our computer. Therefore, ND Mail is being replaced with the M365 Outlook. It will work in Outlook Classic. It will work in the new Outlook. It works on your Mac, your iPhone, your Android, and everything is the same. So you can see here that NetDocs is putting most of its resources into updating the M365 plugin because it's the future. ND Mail is the past. So at one point I thought, ND Mail and ND Office are going to become the same product. The reason they haven't is because we're just publishing it this way. So if we go through these updates here, we are seeing what they've added. Now this goes over here, how to update it. If our company set up NetDocs for you in our install pack that we send to the IT company, we go in and we say, hey, here's how you set it up. So for the past, I don't know, 3 years, we've had everyone install this. So let's just copy this and paste in the chat. This is the installation instructions. As a user, you are not installing this. Okay. This is something your IT company is logging into Office 365 and installing and pushing out. Okay. So just to be clear about that. And these are what all these updates are about. So this is added 2.6. So delayed email sending, support for filing with shared mailboxes. All right, let's just go through these here. 2.61. What did we get here? File tab search defaults, shared files. When users select the search option here, the advanced search panel now opens by default. That's awesome. Okay, this allows users to use lookup tables and profile attributes. So when you're going to save a document, you can come over here and then you can filter where you want to save it. And also when you're going to grab attachments as well. So it makes it much easier. We also have the tree view. That's just fixing an issue with that. I guess the big point here is what NetDocs is trying to do is take everything from ND Mail and ND Save and Outlook and push it into the M365 add-in. So, which is going to be the future. And so this is, if we just go through here, let's see what else we have. Some additional permissions may need to be accepted. All right. Enhancements, search tab default now defaults to advanced. Yeah, we talked about that. Search by matter without selecting a client. Okay. And it supports the MS graph. So we can just search for a matter without choosing a client here. That's something I think we all are comfortable with. And the advanced search was disabled unless apparent. Now we can type in a matter without typing it in a client. All right. Let's go through these a little quicker. All right. 2.64, one-click filing. So this means once I select a location in any mail, it just saves it. I don't have to go and hit file. We've got global filing. We've got the global filing indicator as well. So let me just show you what that looks like, because I'm sure a lot of you haven't used this. So that's where I can go and file here. When the email is saved, we're going to get a filed button is going to appear here. And then we're going into the settings. Conversation filing, I've never used that. Global filing indicator, so it's actually going to create a group called File to NetDocs. Enable one-click filing. This one's going to be cool, but we'll talk about this in a second. So we're actually starting to get features in this that don't exist in ND Mail. That next one people are going to love. Let's come over here. 2.65. Edit profile available. Folder mapping validation. Secured link there. Select meetings. Just go through this. So if there's folders, you could edit the profile of folders and choose information. So if you're viewing here and you see a folder in NetDocs, you can change the profile value from Outlook here. When this is a check mark, it's just telling you that this is a correct location. So, and we can save attachments, and we can set up the folder mapping here as well, and it will validate the folder mapping. So you can, in this option here, let me just come over here, map, and this is where I do a new mapping. I would choose an Outlook folder. I might not be logged into the right account, which is probably the reason why. All right, well, you would type in the folder here, and then you're able to map it, and it will validate all the same options with folder mapping right here. And this is where it lets us edit the profile of this to be able to choose, okay, this is going to maybe discovery instead of correspondence. All right. Version. Okay, we get to choose which version we want to share with the document. They added that one here. That's the big one on this one. You're again slowly adding this out, but I think as we get towards the end, there's one really cool one. And again, these updates automatically come out. Okay. So, cabinet naming conventions. Users can now create their own email attachment naming conventions per cabinet. So, this is really cool. When we're going in and grabbing a document, each user can choose how they want to add this. All right. So, what would I do normally? Document name. But you could go document name, add the document ID, add the version number. If you're using subversions, add version and subversion, and add the version name. This is really, really cool. So when I'm grabbing an attachment from NetDocs, per user, you can choose and you can set up how you want those attachments to go out. Before, it used to be just a cabinet setting, which was annoying because I would have one group at the firm wanted to have the version number, the other group did not. And now it's not even groups, it's customized by user. So you could do all that. And then that covers all the M365 releases. I mean, the goal with NetDocs is to get most of the functionality that we have right now added to the M365 so we can eventually start depreciating installing NDmail and the NDSave feature. And they've ongoing been working on that. All right, moving right along. ND-Link. All right, so some of you have this, some of you don't. ND-Link is a program that you install on a computer, and it allows you to say you're using Juris for your accounting system, or you're using Coyote or SharePoint. Those would be the big ones. Once a client or Orion, just trying to think of ones I've set up. So once a client or matter is created into that system, then it will create it in NetDocs, and we can have it add up to 1 minute at a time. ND-Link was kind of a set it and forget it program unless it stops working. They released in January ND-Link 1.5. What this is supposed to do is work with something called data tables. Now, data tables is important if you're using Pattern Builder or Pattern Builder Max. This is where I can store information to use for generating documents and creating apps. The nice thing here is we can pull data now. Like my friend Lindsay and Tom Rowe at their company, OTB Consulting, I know they work for the Time Matters client where they're able to export data out of Time Matters, upload it into the data tables here to use for document generation. So ND-Link was usually primarily for clients and matters to get added, but now we're able to pull data out of other systems, import it into here, and then use it for document generation or AI apps. That was released in January. I'm sure there's also some bug fixes and stuff like that. People forget about it when I go look at people's ND-Links. They're on 1.2, 1.3. Uploading it, updating is pretty easy. You just run the update there. ND-Click 2.1. All right, this is for all you Mac users. They uploaded ND-Click. All right. So with just some bug fixes, okay? So nothing really that important, okay? But I would also say, just like ND Office is going to go away, ND click for Mac will go away as well, because we're going to have native apps built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, as you've seen, to automatically save stuff. So while there's an update here, just like the ending mail, I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of updates unless there's a bug there. DocuSign integration, we talked about this, so there's really not a lot to talk about. This is the clear document sign. Also allows documents up to 25 megabytes. I never ran into that. Here, enhancements. This allows users to create one PDF file sent in a single envelope, save the signed document as one PDF document. Okay, so this is the other option would be to save signed document as a new version or save the signed document as one PDF document. And then you're just seeing here, but that's been out. Oh, that one's been out for a while. So this was really, this September 2nd, it was the clear one. That was the real big one there. All right, Chat Link. Chat Link is the Microsoft Teams integration. We are using Chat Link at Optiable. The way that we use it, and there's two ways, and we just updated our Chat Link guide, and I'll do a Chat Link training pretty early on this year. But Chat Link is, there's two things I use it for in Teams. The first one is I have a matter in NetDocs. I create a Teams channel with that matter name, and I'm able to link the workspace view. So when I'm in Teams, I can just see the workspace. Don't actually have to go into NetDocs. The other functionality there is when you're sending a message, you can search NetDocs and dump the document right in there. And so let's see here on the updates. When moving files from Teams to NetDocs, the created modified dates are preserved. One tab. Add a feature in Chat Link messaging extension that displays your 20 most recent documents when no search term is displayed. That's useful. You can now, I didn't know this. On Teams Mobile, you can access NetDocs as well. .gov added support for new instruction there. The Chat Link, the NetDocs Teams integration, I should just call it the NetDocs Teams integration, but is fairly useful, and it's just gotten better and better as the years have gone on. All right, Pattern Builder. You can see here where NetDocs has really put in a lot of updates to this. Now, Pattern Builder is the ability to create document templates and generate documents in NetDocs. And these are all the enhancements of Pattern Builder. Apps can be imported and exported. I mean, honestly, that's really good if you're hiring a consultant to generate document templates for you. They can create it on their system, and then they can transport them off to you. Document selector, when you're using it, it makes it easy to select documents. See, there's any, I don't really want to go into a lot here, but you can kind of see here by just looking at this, all the updates, and there's a ton of updates here on Pattern Builder. And now you're seeing what AI they're using. So they moved that to chat, what service they're using on the AIs here. So they're continually updating Pattern Builder there, all the updates. It's really hard to go over this in a generic NetDocs thing, but I just wanted to add that there as well. Those are the NetDocs updates that I wanted to talk about today. Any questions? We've got the chat. We have the Q&A, and if you raise your hand, I will unmute you, but you have to be able to unmute your oh, I forgot. Okay. Let's come over here to One last thing, because I said I want to pull this off here while you're thinking about your questions. Okay, let's do this. All right. So this method one has been changed. The mass export tool is sunset. Okay. This thing was pretty old. We have the new ND Web export tool. This article, oh, wait, no, this is right here. This article goes over using it. Okay. So this is built in. So what you actually do in your cabinet, you create an export location. You create a group of people that can export stuff. You give them that ability. And then what you can do is go to a matter, choose export, and then you can choose files and metadata, metadata only, export official versions only, or export everything, add a password to the zip. Once the export is complete, a zip file is created in NetDocs. Now get all these zip files here, and then you could download those if you wanted to. I'll add a couple of things here, which one I know will be changed, one doesn't. Right now, it's limited to a file. A zip file can't be more than 1.8 gigabytes. So if you have a really big matter, it could have 7 zip files. It could have 10 zip files. They're talking about increasing that limitation. The other one is it does not create folders for the doc type filters. Okay. So if you were exporting out, and I talked to them at the NetDocs conference, I think this is going to be added, but I'm not sure. And that is a deal breaker for some of you. So like in the old tool, we would create a folder called agreements, correspondence, pleading, and research. It doesn't. It dumps the documents out, but it doesn't the folder. It does create the yellow folders and put the documents in there. So that's the issue that's got to be resolved, but that was released towards the end of the year. That was the last thing I wanted to go over. All right. Any questions at all? All right. We'll got an office hours at the end of the year. I'll get the schedule out. We'll do a training on every single one of these ancillary NetDocs products. I mean, going down the list, DLP, Workspace Security Manager, Chat Link, Plan. We'll just do a Plan one. Collab Spaces, Pattern Builder, Set Builder. Analytics is hard for me to do a training on. AI Assistant, Pattern Builder Max. We'll do one training on all of those next year for free with all the updates. We'll do a Windows training. We'll do a Mac training. We'll do an admin training as well. And then if you want to email me one, I know we did a search one that was recommended. That was a good one. We'll probably do another one of those, especially when semantic search comes out. When AI profiling comes out, we'll probably do a training on that one too. All right. I hope everyone again had a great Thanksgiving if you're in the US. If not, I hope you had a great Thursday. And I will talk to everyone soon.